بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين. اللهم ربنا أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم أرنا حقائق الأشياء كما هي ربنا زدنا علما وعملا وإخلاصا يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصر أولياءك في غزة وفي الضفة وخاصة في شمال غزة وفي لبنان وفي اليمن وفي العراق وفي سوريا وفي إيران. اللهم انصرنا على عدوك وعدوهم إنك على كل شيء قدير. اللهم فرج عنا وعن إخواننا في غزة وفي الضفة. اللهم فرج عنا وعن إخواننا في غزة وخاصة في شمال غزة وفي الضفة وفي فلسطين كلها وفي لبنان وفي اليمن وفي العراق وفي سوريا وفي إيران وفي ليبيا وفي السودان وفي مشارق الأرض ومغاربها. اللهم انصرنا على عدوك وعدوهم إنك على كل شيء قدير. اللهم نفس كربنا وكربا وثبت أقدامنا وأقداما والطفنا وبهم يا أرحم الراحمين يا رب العالمين. وصل وسلم على سيدنا ومولانا وحبيبنا وسرور قلوبنا وطبيب قلوبنا ومأوانا وملجانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم آمين آمين يا رب العالمين. Okay, so we have stopped here. What is to be done? What was then to be done? Berkeley thought that the solution of these perplexities was obvious, luminously simple, and ready at hand, or ready to hand. As he wrote in his notebook, I wonder not at my sagacity in discovering the obvious, the amazing truth. I rather wonder at my stupid and I rather wonder at my stupid inadvertency in not finding it out before. I rather wonder at my stupid inadvertency in not finding it before. The solution was to deny the existence of matter. So solution was to deny the existence of matter, but solution of what? All the things we looked at it. Well, it is clear from the inexperienced Berkeley's thought he was simply opposed to and repelled by the notion of the universe as a vast machine. So if we accept matter, then we have to accept that the universe is a vast machine. Locke loved mechanism. He delighted in metaphors of clocks and engines, spring levers and wheels, and indeed took mechanics to be a paradigm of satisfactory intelligibility. All this Berkeley detested. God's creation, he was sure, could not really be like that. God, universe. I mean, that only if we assume that God, there are a lot of assumptions there that we would have to assume that God universe is limited to the material world, and we would have to assume that the science actually describe the material world fully as well. But if we would have to see whether this attribution to Locke of reducing the whole material world to machine is correct or not. But that was something prevalent in 17th, 18th century. And you'll find it in Descartes as well, this obsession with the machine. For Descartes, even animals were machines in a sense. Berkeley detested it. So that was one reason for it. We need to deny the existence of matter. So if there's no matter, then there's no machine. God's creation, he was sure, could not really be like that, particularly if in order to maintain that, we have to assert that its actual appearance is delusive, and that the visible beauty of creation is to be regarded as nothing but a false imaginary glare. Why to embrace such a nightmare should we deny the evidence? Why to embrace such nightmares should we deny the evidence of our own senses? But that's a particular interpretation of Locke. Berkeley held that, for besides the general leaning towards absurd skepticism, the scientism, as one perhaps call it, of Locke's doctrine seems to lead naturally towards materialism, and by way of materialism to determinism. That's a causal determinism. That's another assumption, that materialism is necessarily married to determinism, causal determinism, or at least hard determinism, and so causal to atheism, and therefore Berkeley's view was that the version of all morality. God is brought in by Locke as a designer, creator, and starter of the great machine. But could he show that the matter itself was not eternal, with no beginning and no creator? Might God turn out to be superfluous? Might God turn out to be superfluous? Again, the Locke himself had made the supposition that minds are immaterial substances, and no doubt hoped to sustain a Christian view of soul. He had confessed that he could not disprove the counter suggestion that the consciousness might be merely one of the properties of matter, and so wholly dependent on the maintenance of certain purely physical conditions. Thus, Locke's theories at best permit, at worst provided, at worst positively encourage denial of God's existence and the soul's immortality. With that denial, religions fall, and Berkeley's view, dogs in Berkeley's view, drags morality, drags morality after it. But that's again assumption. And the other thing is, how can somebody, again, though Locke himself no doubt hoped he had confessed that he could not disprove. You can't disprove these things. Metaphysical thing, there's always the other side. So there are both sides of the argument. So rational antinomies regarding metaphysics are unavoidable. How can you decisively prove or disprove anything regarding metaphysics when you're basically living, basically boxed in your own limitations, etc. And perhaps the limitation of your environment as well. Berkeley came very early to regard the picture of the world, the Lockean picture of the world, as at once absurd, dangerous, and repulsive. It was absurd, he argued, because it implied a fantastic skepticism. That's a Locke's theory of ideas and things. Okay, so that's enough of just recapitulation of what we did in the last two sessions. So the solution for of all these possibilities, to avoid all these dangers and possibilities, is just to deny the matter, not willy-nilly, not like willy-nilly, not without argument, obviously, based on arguments. It's not as if Berkeley wanted to deny matter because he didn't like matter. Obviously, he didn't like the notion of matter, but what he argued was, if you accept Locke's, I don't think but this is implicit. If you accept Locke's epistemology, then you should deny, and consistently, and if you are consistent, then you should deny matter, because for him, Locke had only denied the independent existence of secondary qualities, but using Locke's argument, you could also deny, if he was consistent, he would have denied the independent existence of primary quality as well. So for Berkeley, if you are a consistent Lockean, you should deny the independent existence of ideas in Locke's sense. The ideas always depend on a mind. That's why if the world is an idea, it must depend on ultimately depend on a mind. I mean, on a human mind, and ultimately on God's mind. Okay, so first, Berkeley insists that odd-looking denial is wholly supportive of common sense. On Locke's own admission, we are never actually aware of anything about our own ideas, anything but our own ideas. But ideas for Locke are what nowadays people call sense data. I don't know why it doesn't write on there. So what people call sense data nowadays. But our own ideas, to deny the existence then of his external, Locke's own admission, we are never actually aware of anything but our own ideas. So to deny the existence then of his external objects, material bodies, so to deny then of his external objects, that is Locke's material bodies, that is not to take away anything that has ever entered into our experience, because our experience is only of our ideas. We don't really know the object directly. So it's Locke's view is one of representationalism, in the sense that. But here the ambiguity in Locke's use of idea is crucial for Berkeley's argument. For Locke, ideas, so the ambiguity is here. Obviously, ideas are in our mind. So in that sense, ideas are dependent on mind. But for Locke, ideas are impressions, in the sense that they are caused by material things outside and our interaction with those things. And Berkeley sort of plays on this ambiguity and saying that since we are only aware of our own ideas, we don't have any direct access to the material objects. So that creates skepticism, or at least the possibility of skepticism, because we are cut off from the objects through this veil of. But this is not the only way to read Locke, because you can read him as saying that ideas sort of provide window or opening to the world and give us, in that sense, a direct access to the objects, even though that access is through to secondary qualities is direct in a way, but to the object as a whole is indirect, that we have to create. Our mind has to, gather all those ideas and connections. But our minds doesn't do that without a causal connection with the object. So that is Locke's position. But obviously there is a danger in that position, that because of its view that we don't have a direct access to object, and we know object through only construction of our mind, even though arguably through based on ideas which are caused by objects, our access to objects as a whole, objects themselves, is always indirect. So I never see the tree directly. My senses are interacting with the tree senses, and they are getting impressions, ideas, and ideas are then interconnected through those causal. I guess the connections are also being impressed on our mind, but then mind constructs the whole picture of the tree. And so in a sense, this indirectness create the room for skepticism and a veil between us and the world. That's why people have tried to come up with direct. People have criticized representationalism. People have tried to come up with, sort of direct access theories to the world. But those theories also, are faced with familiar difficulties. For example, how are you going to account for illusion and errors and all this if you believe in direct access to the world, for example. Okay, so this is let's go back. But Berkeley thought that rejection of matter should solve the problem. So on Locke's own admission, we are never actually aware of anything but our own ideas. To deny the existence then of the external objects, material bodies, is not to take away anything that has ever entered into our experience. But that's a very, irrespective of the merit of Berkeley's view, this position, attributing this position to Locke is, I think, unjustified. Because Locke is not saying that it's not to take away anything that has ever into our experience. Locke is not saying that external objects haven't entered into our experience. What he's saying is they haven't entered into our direct experience, entered us through. So in a way, what Locke is saying is the world opens itself to us through impressions it makes on our mind, and then our mind sort of in causal connection with the way those impressions are made on us construct the picture of that world, external world. So, but not only so, it must be not only so, it must also put an end to all skeptical questioning, because if ideas are our own mind, so then there's no question of doubt. You can't doubt your own ideas as such, because now you are not relating it to anything else. But then the question is how you are going to account for the independence of the external world from our ideas, for example. And Berkeley does this through a roundabout way, through his conception of God. For Locke was obliged to concede to the skeptic that our ideas mislead us. Our ideas mislead us about our real character of the things. Mislead us in which way? I mean, they mislead us probably by giving the impression that secondary qualities exist as we see them in the precisely because he had regarded things as something other than merely represented by our ideas. So he believed in independence of things from our ideas. Otherwise, his causal theory would collapse. But if eliminating the supposed material body, we adopt the view that the ordinary objects of experience simply are collection of our ideas, it will be plainly impossible to suggest that things may not. It would plainly be impossible to suggest that things may not be as they appear to us. Even more so to suggest that the very existence might be doubted. So Berkeley's ideas here, in a way, are close to common sense in the sense that appearances are what there is. But on the other hand, it also, I mean, the charitable way, more realistic way of reading Berkeley is this. But that will depend on because Berkeley, I mean, if you mean by external object substance, which never comes into our experience, we just suppose that it must be there because we only get to primary qualities and secondary qualities. And they can't stand on their own. So Berkeley's argument does apply to this substance thing. So we can say that what Berkeley actually is rejecting is something assumed by Locke's theory but never proven by experience, because it never comes into experience by definition. So by external object, Berkeley might mean just substance, this fictitious or theoretical entity. And he might be saying that primary qualities and secondary qualities and their collection is all that there is. And since these are ideas, so only ideas exist. That would be more commonsensical and non-mental picture. But if he says, but we can also And obviously that's more common reading of him, and more consistent reading would say that ideas in our mind, in our mind, and there's no external object as at all. So then our ideas are what there is. So that's another reading. And then the independence of ideas would be established through God, because God is sort of producing those ideas in our mind. And since God is also a mind, there are only minds, no matter in that sense. But by matter, more realistically, we could also mean just substance, that fictitious entity which Locke posits, but which we, by Locke's own admission, we never experience. So there is this ambiguity always there. Okay, so if an apple is not an external material body but a collection of ideas, then I may be entirely certain, as of course Berkeley says any person of good sense actually is, both that it exists and that it really has a color, taste, texture, aroma that I find in it. Doubt on so simple a matter could only seem to arise as a result of quite needless assertion that things exist, distinct from and in superfluous addition to the ideas we have. As I said, this can be read realistically as well as idealistically, as the entry will push now, but surely it may be objective, so that our ideas have causes. Probably we'll look at that next time, inshallah, or in the next session. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما أمرتنا أن نصلي عليه اللهم صل على محمد كما هو أهله اللهم صل على محمد كما تحب وترضى له اللهم صل على روح محمد في الأرواح اللهم صل على جسد محمد في الأجساد اللهم صل على قبر محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم في القبور برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين آمين آخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.